have the Ayatollah of fantasy rock and roller with us today, Adam Rank. How you doing, Rank?
They look great in person, and I just can't wait to next year where we can pack it full of 25,000.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. I didn't know it was Ball Guys Day. It was being ranked. I mean, how can you lose?
This is the Dynasty Vipers Vipercast.
It's time to go behind the grind, presented by the Fantasy Points Media Group. Joining me as always, Major Caldwell, Terry Roberts, and on today's show, not only is he one of the biggest nerds in fantasy football, but he's a former Malone University footballer himself. Garret Price, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Shout out Malone University.
That's right. We
where is that located?
Canton, Ohio, Hall of Fame city. So it was fun. I got to play at Fawcett, which they do like the Hall of Fame game there every year. It's now Tom Benson Stadium. It's been renamed since then. But yeah, we are responsible for one NFLer. It was an NAIA school that converted to a Division II. And we are responsible for putting what we call the last pioneer, because the program is now gone. There is no more football program at Malone, but the last pioneer was Ashton Doolin, who is now a receiver for the Colts. So that is our claim to fame.
Hey, I'm a big Ashton Doolin fan here. I mean, he's one of my favorite players out there. Big hype him up coming out of college there. Major, did anyone good come out of your junior college?
Oh, yeah. I have a ton of people, but I'm not going to name them all. But yeah. We got Super Bowl champions. We got all kind of stuff. I came out, it's all good.
All right, Garrett, you kind of have that fullback look to me right now.
I was thinking that. That was my question. That's why I couldn't think of who was on my team, because I was like, what position did you play?
Yeah. So high school, it was like a fullback, running back hybrid. It was kind of an odd offense. We ran the spread, but a lot of times I would. I'd line up in the backfield, but sometimes I'd almost be used as an H-back as well, play a little bit of slot. So I was a little bit all over the place, but my main focus in high school and college was linebacker. So I played middle linebacker at both Northwestern High School and Malone University.
Yeah. Were you the neck brace linebacker? Or were you that guy?
I wanted to be so bad. Like I wanted the cowboy collar. My coach wouldn't let me though. He was like, "That's stupid. It doesn't do any good. Like, just
makes
go
you
hit
look
people."
cool though. You look really cool when you have it.
Like All-Star made it look cool, man.
Exactly.
So funny story. I played a little bit of slot there, and one game just for fun, the coach let me put on the cowboy collar and the old forearm shivers there to play the slot.
Nice.
And I had so much fun doing it. I mean, I was like, anything you could possibly put on in Madden, from the visor to the cowboy collar to the shivers. I mean, I had it on for that one game just for fun. And I mean, it was the best day ever.
Oh man, from the slot, you can crack back on some of the linebackers sometimes too. So if you're all geared up like that, you can lay the wood.
Well, you got to understand, I played in Canada. Like Canadian rules are different. That slot receiver can go in motion. He can start coming towards that line and coming at an angle. So as soon as that ball snaps, you're cracking on that defensive end. Like he's got no time to react. I mean, there's snot bubbles ever. It's the most glorious position ever. But hey, say you're coming out at Malone University. You get to choose that song to introduce you to the people there. You're going to get excited. I mean, what is that intro music for Garret Price going to be?
Ooh, that's a great question. I'm going to go back to like my Pee Wee football days. And there were two songs that were like the go-to. If it was actually in front of people and I like couldn't like have a profanity like lace song, it would be like it would have been Boom by POD. Loved that song. However, I love
boom,
DMX.
Was that or not? Is it that boom? Here
comes the boom. Yep, exactly. I loved that song, dude. I was in my I was like 11-year-old me in my bedroom, like jumping off the bed. Like I loved it. But I also love DMX too. So, but like most of his songs you couldn't like play in front of people like that. So it would probably be Boom, because I probably couldn't play DMX.
You can growl a little
Which
bit.
Kevin
though.
James brought back just recently, right? I mean, we had that
Oh, yeah.
his
That's
wrestling
true.
movie, or his UFC movie. He brought that. Here Comes the Boom. I think that's what it was actually called.
Yeah, that's
Right.
what it's called. Yep.
So we've got a little DMX there. We got a bit of little POD. Those, those are typical type songs for introductions here. But if you're in your bedroom, or maybe you're having a nice little bubble bath, what's that guilty pleasure song that you're listening to? What's that one song that's maybe on the iPad or the iPod or whatever you're listening to that you're like, I probably don't want to tell Dynasty Rich I'm listening to this right now.
Oh, this one's easy for me. Anything by Fergie. I love Fergie. Big Girls Don't Cry. Fergalicious.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't matter. I
Fergalicious.
love Fergie.
I love it.
The rest of the
Big
Black
Fergie
Eyed
fan.
Peas, does the rest of the Black Eyed Peas kind of work with that too, or is it just Fergie?
Nah, he's
I mean, the
all
rest
over
of them
Fergie.
are okay, but no,
Well,
Fergie has a special spot.
Oh,
I love it.
that's
love
so
it.
sad. But yeah, I'm with you, dude.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, you talked about your Pee Wee playing days, man. That was some of my best times too, playing sports. Did you play any other sports besides football?
Yeah, so growing up, I tried to play a little bit of everything. So I played baseball through middle school, and then I played basketball and did like AU and stuff like that because I was that kid where I shot up like right away, and so I basically only grew like 1 inch after 7th grade. So
You were bigger than everyone that's like in the Pee Wee, and then you got to high school, and it kind of evened
everybody
out.
caught up. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
that kid that was like shaving his like dirt stash in 5th grade. Like, that was that guy. But it made me like an awesome center for like, early on. So like basketball, I was like an AAU guy early on. And then I get to like about 8th grade or so. And I'm like, I'm not really that tall anymore. I'm not like a post like I was. And I don't have the handles to really be a guard. So I played basketball through my sophomore year of high school and sat the bench for varsity, but I knew I like wasn't going anywhere with it. And I really wanted to like focus on football. So I actually ended up doing like track for a couple of years, not because I like wanted to do track, but it was like a good way to like keep in shape for football. So I played a lot of different sports, but it all kind of came back to football.
Who were some of the players that you looked up to? Who were some of your favorite players as a kid, and who's your favorite team?
Yeah, so I'm a Browns fan. So a lot of stuff centered around the Browns, but defensively, like I always, even when I played, like I love scoring touchdowns. It's fun, but like I would take like a hard hit over a touchdown like any day of the week. Like I loved the contact of the game. Like I sought it out. So defensively, I loved Ray Lewis. Loved it. I didn't like him as much because he was in my division and he like always wrecked the Browns. But I just respected like how much game he had, how vocal he was as like a leader, and like you like he was an extra coach on the field. They always talk about like Peyton Manning and stuff like that, but like that's what Ray Lewis did for defense. So I always respected Ray Lewis in that front. Liked Brian Urlacher a lot as well. Really good middle linebacker there. And then but I loved the short snippet we had of like that Peyton Hillis year because like that was basically me on offense. That was like how I played. That was my style. That was, I was like this odd like fullback body, but like kind of played running back, but would also like catch passes, and it didn't really fully make sense. And is he actually good? I don't know, but like it was fun. So I liked Peyton Hillis a lot as well.
So fun fact, Brian Urlacher, coach, who he was at in college, he went to.
Was it Utah?
No,
New Mexico State.
New Mexico State. His coach, when I was in college, my D2 school, I went to Eastern Oregon. RP to Coach Fenwick. So we were coached by me and Urlacher have something in common there.
That's dope.
And if you guys are just listening to the show here on podcast, whether that's Apple, Spotify, or Stitcher, me and Garrett, we basically have the two haircuts of Brian Urlacher. I got his playing day haircut, and Garrett's got his post-career haircut going on right now. So
that's pretty good. I'm giving you. That's pretty good. That's a good one.
That's impressive.
Hopefully, you're tuning into the Vipers Network on YouTube because you get to catch it and you get to look at it. I mean, we need to do like a face swap with never mind.
With Brian Urlacher, that could work.
See, that's Matt. He goes too far. He can't help himself.
No, I can't just take a cup applause on a joke. I have to kill it right there. I got to beat it right to the ground there. Now, one thing I got to know, we got the Expo coming up in 19 days, give or take. I don't know what it is. It's right around the corner here. I got to know two questions. Where's the pool party at this year? And is Major invited?
That's a great question. Last year we threw a party at Rich's place. Rich has a baller spot, but this year we got like an Airbnb. So I don't know where the pool party is this year. That's a great
He's
question.
big timing us right now. He's doing oh yeah, I don't know anything. Like, I get it. I'm not A-list yet. It's good. Okay, I get it.
But if I find out, he'll be the first one invited.
See, there you go.
Right, never mind. I got the
Hollywood.
DM there,
That's kind of
Garrett,
like that's a total Hollywood like interaction with people on the street. That's how everyone is out here. They're like, oh yeah, we don't know anything, but if we do, they never call. But
you're my guy.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
Here's the thing, man. Like, you're more likely to find me at like B-dubs than you are at a pool party. Like, I'm about to be getting some wings or something like that.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I think Tyler was there, right? Got there that last year. I think he was at the pool party. I'm surprised he didn't burn. I think he was actually in the creek that wasn't really a pool. It was like, I don't know, a little pond.
So there was a pool up front, and then in his so he has like the pool in his backyard, but then behind there's like a pond for like all the houses around it.
Yeah, if Tyler comes out, someone's got to put some sunscreen on that guy because I mean,
he could burst into flames.
He's gonna light up right there. So I love Tyler and all, but man, we got to get that SB 400 on him.
All right, let's dive back into you personally and kind of talk about. Tell us about a decision that changed the trajectory of your life.
Ooh, man, that's a great question. Like any decision or like the biggest decision that changed the direction. I would say the one that comes to mind was probably going to Malone University. Partly because there was a lot of different schools that I was excited about, a lot of different schools I was looking at. I knew I wanted to do something like in ministry, work in church, like something like that, but I wasn't 100% sure. And originally I was going to go to Taylor University, which is a school in Indiana. And I was excited about it. And at the last minute, because I hadn't received any scholarship or anything from Malone, so I just didn't think they were interested. And like right before I had committed to Taylor, they offered me a scholarship, and they had like some of the programs I was really looking for. So like it was a really like hand in glove fit. So I ended up going there, and because of that, I met my wife at Malone University. Most of the jobs that I've had like up into Dynasty Nerds have all been like connected to Malone in one way, shape, or form. It was like somebody I met there or something like that. So yeah, probably choosing that as my school really kind of decided and dictated the direction things went for me.
Okay, keeping on the track of this journey, how did you transition from football into fantasy football? Were you always interested in fantasy football?
Yeah, I've always been a guy that loves sports, but I also loved the concept of like building things. Not necessarily in the form of like Legos or things like that, but like I would take like my baseball cards as a kid and I would make batting lineups of team, and I would like write them all down, and I would make like I'd make fake games and all of that. Then it transitioned. I did it with basketball, I did it with football, like I did it with all those. Like I had books, like pieces of paper that I would staple together into books of just me like writing fake stats from things that happened in the games of like, all right, Shaq had 29 points, 3 blocks, that kind of, like I did that with all that. And even NCAA football game, loved that game, always loved that game. But after a while, I stopped actually like playing the games. I would just sim the games and just see how good I could do at recruiting.
That was me, dude.
That was you?
That's all day. That was me.
Yes.
I skipped the seasons all the time just to draft.
Yes. I just wanted to see how good of a team I could build without me interfering and like scoring touchdowns and stuff. And so I just would recruit over and over and over. I get through 30 years of recruiting in a day.
Exactly.
It was a blast, man. It was a blast. So I always I didn't know I was into fantasy football, but like those were like obvious indicators that I would be into something like that. But I played a little bit of fantasy football in high school. And then my first Dynasty league, I actually played the year after I graduated college. A bunch of my college buddies and we all got together, did our first Dynasty league. So this will actually be our 10th year, our 10th year of our Dynasty league. And we still have all 10 original members too, which is
nice.
pretty cool.
That's hard to do.
It is. It's
Very.
really hard. Although there's one guy on the cusp of us just like kicking out because he never answers anything.
So what are some of the biggest changes that you've seen in yourself from a fantasy perspective from when you started to where you are now?
I would say originally, partly because just being in the locker room, being around like football minded people, almost everything was film analysis for me early on. It was just, what do I see on tape? How does that translate? And I don't think early on I respected analytics nearly as much as I should have. And as I've like grown over the past, I don't know what it's been, 4 years or so, 5 years, whatever it's been, I've really incorporated a much heavier amount of analytics into my analysis and how I evaluate players. So I do still lean heavy on film tape and watching film and things like that. But it's not the end all be all as it used to be.
What's something about yourself that people may not realize, like any hidden talents or anything like that?
Ooh, hidden talents. That's a great question. I don't know that I have anything that I'm like super good at. Like I don't know, like nothing to like brag about. Like I've played like bass guitar like when
There
my
you
church
go.
needed me to. Like not that I was that good, but they're like, we need somebody to play bass. And I was like, all right, I'll learn. So it was kind of like one of those like basic things like that. No, I really here's one thing. I don't know this is the route you're wanting to go, but I'm like a Stranger Things, like the show Stranger Things. I'm like a super fan
That's my daughter.
of Stranger Things. Like we actually threw a party when season 2 came out, and I made a like life-size paper mache Demogorgon.
Wow.
And we had like, all we did was like eat Eggos. Like you weren't allowed to eat anything other than Eggos. And we had like the missing posters up, the phone that was like fried. Like we went all out. It was pretty wild. So yeah, I'm a huge Stranger Things fan.
But tell the truth, this last season, eh.
Oh,
Oh,
dope.
wait.
What?
Such a good season.
Oh my
I
god!
just started binge watching and I'm about to start the 4th season.
I fell asleep like every time I
What?
tried to watch it. Oh my god!
Well, how far have you gotten into it? How far have you gotten into it?
Like the first episode.
Oh, see, you gotta give it more time than
Nothing out of
that.
the first episode.
That first season was like amazing. Second season,
Once you get to season, so here's how season 4 goes. The first like 3 episodes are like pretty good. Episode 4, like you get a little tick up, and then once you get about halfway through episode 6, it's like just straight up, like episode 7. I couldn't catch my breath. Like I kept finding myself like like the whole it's so good. Man.
I just can't get over the kids being like 40 years old now.
For sure. Yeah. It's like, hey, we gotta go like to the Upside Down, but first let me pay our mortgage.
Yeah, let
I
me
get
shave.
So I got 3 things here to kind of get off my chest. One, I have to admit this: I haven't watched a single episode of Stranger Things, so I think that's gonna be one of those binge watching. 2, I think your hidden talent. I think your hidden talent could be paper mache, because I don't even know what a Demogorgon is. And 3, Eggos. I could eat Eggos all day, so I got no problem with going to one of these pre-watching parties here and just pounding back the Eggos. That I can do.
There we go.
Yeah, it goes.
So what is a typical in-season versus off-season schedule look like for you? I know we're starting to ramp up. What do you typically, how's your workload, or what does your typical season look like in the off-season?
Yeah, so in season, you're right, is very different. And in some ways, in season, and you guys are a Dynasty show, so you understand this a little bit. In some ways, it's easier in season than it is off season. And in some ways, it's more difficult. In season, the content somewhat writes itself. You know, as the weeks go on, you're following the narratives, you're following the schedule, you're following all that stuff. So the content kind of writes itself in season. So I do a lot for our GM tool, putting together like the dynasty rankings and the contender rankings. And our contender rankings are more or less just redraft rankings is really what they are. They're just how likely is your team to win this year versus the dynasty rankings are for, how well is your team built to win long term. So I'm the guy that kind of makes sure all of that gets put together. I write the show sheets for the show, and obviously we do the show. I do YouTube content and different things like that. But in the off season, I spend a lot of time just at my computer watching tape, fast forward, rewind, fast forward, like back and forth, like watching plays over and over and over and over. So I spend a lot of time doing that, cutting up tape, and then different things like in our Discord, we'll do like AMAs and things like that. So the workload isn't necessarily that much heavy or less in season versus off season. Probably my heaviest time is during the draft. That probably is the heaviest season for me. But it's more just the focus is different, and I don't have to be nearly as creative in season as I do in the off season.
So I like a good origin story. I mean, the Dynasty Vipers was built on my own pettiness. I'll be the first one to admit that. That's for another story, for another show, or another day. But kind of give us the whole Dynasty Nerds origin story.
Yeah, so I'm not even one of the OGs. Matt and Rich, and a third guy that no one knows about named Josh. The three of them decided that they were going to start this. Originally, it was just going to be a website. They were going to start this website, and the guy Josh, he doesn't do any content for us. He does like a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. Because he doesn't even really like fantasy football, which is funny. But he does a lot of stuff for the website and whatnot. And he convinced Matt and Rich, like, look, you guys need to do a podcast. If you're going to do it, do a podcast. So he talked him into doing a podcast. And this has been, I want to say 8 years ago now, something like that. 9 years. I don't know. It's been a minute. So the two of them started a podcast. They actually had a couple other guys that were just their friends. It was just a bunch of guys in their league, basically, that started doing this podcast. One of the guys fell off within the first few weeks. The other guy lasted about 2 years or so. And that was when Nerds was really starting to pick up steam, really, jump the ranks on Apple Pods and things like that. And then I was just a guy that listened to the show. I just really enjoyed the content. I thought Rich was an idiot, but I enjoyed him. And they said one time, they're like, hey, we're looking for some writers. And I had been writing stuff just for fun for my home league, where it was more or less just me trash talking and talking about how terrible everyone's team was. But my buddy came up to me the one day and he was like, hey, Garrett, that stuff you write is actually not half bad. Maybe you should do it for like people that care. I was like, thank you. I don't know how to take that. But that happened right at the same time that Nerds say they were looking for writers. I applied. They liked it enough, obviously, to bring me on. And then probably about 4 months in, I've moved since then. I only lived about an hour from where they did the show. And so they brought me up one time to do a guest spot with them, because they were looking to have a third host again, because that's originally how they were, but they had gone 2 years without one. It was just the two of them for 2 years. And came up and apparently didn't suck. And they were like, hey, you want to do this like a little more often? I was like, sure. And then I just never left. So now I'm actually part owner of Dynasty Nerds now, which is pretty cool. Nice. And I've been there, I want to say 4 years, 5 years, 4 years. I think 4 years.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Cool. Let's talk a little bit about your super personal life here. Sure. What's on your YouTube playlist? You got like cat videos, podcasts, music. What's on that YouTube playlist?
Yeah, that's a good one. Probably the first thing you're gonna see is it's gonna be like player clips. So that part's like boring. So we'll skip that.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the dirt.
Yeah. We don't care about that. There will probably be board game instructional videos on there. I love a good board game.
I love the rules.
Right. And I don't want to read through them all, so I need somebody I can watch somebody explain it to me. So that way I know how to play. So there's probably some of those. There's for sure This is gonna sound raunchier than it is, but if you've ever listened to it, you'll know what it is. It's called the Big Booty Mix. It's basically just like it's these two guys that are DJs basically, and they do an incredible job of like mixing like tracks, whether it's from like current like hip hop artists, rock, pop, whatever, and then like all the way through like even like the 80s and 70s and stuff like that, and then mix them all together, and it's like really upbeat and energetic. So, and they last an hour. Each one's an hour long. So I love to listen to them like while I'm working because it like keeps me going and like not falling asleep.
Yeah.
So, and there's like 21 volumes or something like that.
Wonder how you stumbled upon that site. Like
It was
don't look at his Google search.
Like you know,
no, it was actually a coworker.
Like, yeah, I actually like the music.
It was actually a coworker that sent it to me, and I thought it was a prank at first. I was like, "Bro, I'm not clicking on this. My wife's gonna know what I'm looking at." Like,
exactly.
like I'm not clicking on this. He's like, "Dude, just watch it." And then sure enough, it was pretty dope. So I'm telling you, look up Big Booty Mix, BOOTIE.
Oh,
all right,
yeah.
you got to get the IE
Sophisticated with the IE, you
right, or you can get in trouble.
Yeah.
Would you happen to have any YouTube videos of Chuck Norris karate chopping expensive cameras?
I wouldn't. I should. That sounds fun, but I don't. Unfortunately, no.
Because I have it on good authority that someone in this little 4 square image here may or may not have karate chopped an expensive camera.
I was wondering if that's where you're going with that. See, Rich always sells me out. He's dirty like that. No, I like a month ago, we have the studio in Rich's basement, and now granted, I drive like forever to get there. Now I live like 2 hours and 40 minutes away, so it takes me like forever to get there, and I'm like tired as all get out, and the cord was not quite like all the way down, and I had like kicked I'm like all groggy, and I like kicked the cord, and the camera came down and broke, and it's like a $1,500 camera. They weren't thrilled.
Yeah.
They weren't thrilled.
So one of my favorite things personally that I always look forward to when it comes on there is your Faith and Fantasy Football show. I remember you kind of talked about this way back when you first started there, where I think we're in season 3 now of this whole thing. How did this whole come about, and kind of what's that favorite verse, that Bible verse that you kind of go back to when things get tough?
Oh, that's a great question. So yeah, it was something that I was just feeling really convicted about. Here I gained this platform that I absolutely didn't deserve. I was just a guy that like enjoyed fantasy football and like put it out for the world, and like people listen, and it was dope. But I was feeling really convicted because I was like, I've gained this audience, and like it says, I'm a Christian in my bio, but like, I don't like, what am I doing to like further God's kingdom? Like I'm not doing squat. So like, I got to do something about this. And so I for a long time have done sports ministry. So run like basketball leagues, flag football leagues, different things like that. And a lot of times I would be the guy that would do like just a quick little like 3-minute, 4-minute devotional in between like halftime or different things like that. And it's like, I wonder if I can kind of like incorporate something like that into the fantasy football space, and just whoever wants to watch it, dope. If that's something that like you're a believer and you find that encouraging, or if you're somebody that's like, I don't really know how I feel about God, maybe you'll stumble upon it and you'll like it, or maybe you won't, and that's okay. And I've had people trash it. I've had people that are like, how dare you mix God with football? Like, leave my football alone. Like, I don't want to hear it. So I've heard it all. But at the end of the day, it was something that I was excited about. And it was just a good way to just use fantasy football as an illustration for life, and for what God has done through scripture and is doing in people's life. And, for as many people who have trashed it, there's been 10 times more people that have sent me messages of like just encouragement, or been like, look, man, I need somebody to talk to. I'm going through a divorce, or I'm like, I do it like, and like some heavy stuff. And I'm like, holy cow, I didn't expect that necessarily, but it's been really cool to see how God's used it and worked through it. So it's actually, I was planning on putting a new video out last week, and my week got crazy. My wife got COVID, and I have 2 little girls, so I didn't have the opportunity to do it last week. But I have another one that'll be putting out here soon.
So if you weren't doing what you're doing now, what would you be doing?
Whew. That's a good question. I would be probably still doing some sort of like something in ministry. So probably sports ministry, youth ministry. I really like working with kids. Just because unfortunately we live in a world where so many kids just like their parents, they just suck, like for lack of a better term, like their parents just suck.
Right.
Whether they're physically present or not, that sometimes, the mom or dad are no longer in the house, or their parents are there physically, but they're, mentally, physically, emotionally abusive, or maybe they're just like neglectful and they just work all the time and don't spend time with them or whatever. So I really like just trying to help out where I can. Obviously, nothing replaces the relationship with a mom or a dad. But sometimes it's just good to know that there's like adults that actually care and actually want to like listen to the things that are going on in your life. So it probably either youth ministry or sports ministry.
Back to fantasy football here just a little bit.
Yeah.
What has fantasy football taught you about yourself?
It's taught me more than I thought it would. And partly how petty I can be about things. Like sometimes I'll know something is going to happen. Like I'll know it's true. And somebody tells me I'm wrong. And I'm like, you're really going to, did you know this research I just did? I just laid on like 15 points that are solid. And you're just going to be like, nope, wrong. Like, seriously, come on. So yeah, I've learned I'm a little more petty, and maybe my fuse isn't quite as long as I thought it was. So yeah, I think that's something I've definitely learned in this process.
You know what? I feel you. I've got no qualms about it. I'll admit to being petty and all this other stuff. And I've got a short fuse, and I'll let it kind of burn and smolder a little bit from time to time. But I feel you. I'm right here with you on that one.
Diving back into relationships, you've talked about a lot of the guys with Dynasty Nerds. What are some of those relationships of guys or people that you've respected along the way or helped you along the way? They're so important within this industry.
Oh yeah, there's so many people that those relationships are huge. Like probably my closest friend that I've gained through all this is Jared Wackerly. He's on Twitter at Jared Wackerly. It used to be Jared Wackerly FF. He dropped the FF for some reason. I don't know why. Peer pressure, I guess. But he started out doing fantasy football right around the same time. He is now with Dynasty Nerds, but at the time he wasn't. And it was funny. He put out a tweet that I was like, oh, that's insightful and whatnot. And I saw that like his location was North Canton, which is where I lived at the time. I shot him, and like not thinking about it, this was like low key kind of creepy. But I like shot him a DM, not realizing it was like 12:30 at night. And I was just like in bed scrolling. I was like, hey, like, I think I live like close to you. Like, we should meet up. Like, and I'm like, I sent it. And then I was like laying there. I was like, why would you send something like that at like 12:30 at night? That sounds so creepy. But fortunately, he didn't hold it against me. We ended up meeting up at Winking Lizards. Come to find out, we lived like 4 minutes apart, like literal 4 minutes apart. So it was cool. We got a chance to like do stuff, hang out, and he's actually now with Dynasty Nerds. So he's probably the best friend that I've gained through all of this. But there's a lot of other guys that I've really appreciated that have been really, really cool. Danny Kelly from the Ringer Network has been super gracious. Really enjoyed getting to hang out and talk with him. Connor Rogers from Bleacher Report. He does a lot of their like NFL draft stuff. He doesn't do fantasy as much, but he does like all of their like in-depth, and he's always been like super gracious anytime I had questions about stuff. And like he helped me like the first time I went to the combine. He like kind of helped point me in the right direction of like where I needed to go, what I needed to do, that kind of stuff. So yeah, there've been a lot of Ryan McDowell was super nice when I first started, and different things like that. But obviously the guys at Nerds for even give me a shot. I mean, we all kind of start out the same way, just a random person that enjoys fantasy football. But the fact that they took a chance and brought me on, and here we are 4 years later.
Yeah, you seem like the friend that people go to for advice. So give us your best advice for those of us trying to make it in this fantasy football industry, and then also give us your best piece of parenting advice.
Ooh, those are two really good questions. All right, so my best piece of advice for people trying to make it in this industry is it's twofold. So I'm kind of cheating a little bit, but first of all, it build relationships, like absolutely 100%. Like I know that there are like it can be intimidating. I know that like there are people that are more prone to be a little more outgoing than others, but like find people you jive with, you connect with. Doesn't mean you have to like, all right, I'm gonna become best friends with Matthew Berry. Like, like no, just find people you connect with, build relationships that way. Authentic relationships will always go much further than just like trying to just seek attention, but build those relationships. Don't be afraid to like reach out, interact on people's timelines, talk to people, that kind of stuff. But ultimately, just as important as that, find your lane. Find your lane. Like there are so like I know it's a simple game, but there's still so many untapped opportunities and content and ways and avenues to put that stuff out. If you are trying to be someone else, trying to do what they are doing, chances are they're already doing it and they're already doing it better than you are. So there's no reason to like try to just copy what they're doing. Like find your own way, pick people that inspire you. Cool. Like you can pull different things and different aspects from different people, but find your lane, the thing that you're good at, the thing you're comfortable with. Whether like some people, they suck on camera. Like they're not good at it. Stop trying to do stuff on camera. Right. Build platforms, build like whatever. Other people, you can't write. Stop writing articles. Like it's a grammatical nightmare. Like don't do it. Like, but
don't pay attention to that.
But just find your lane. Find the thing that you're good at, and then go for it. Then just go for it 100%. As far as parenting advice goes, I think the best thing that I can say as far as parenting goes is find someone who their kids are 5 to 10 years older than yours, and that you look at their kids and you're like, those are good kids. I want my kids to be like those kids, and then go talk to them. Like go talk to those parents, ask what they did, because I think too often we get embarrassed and like we want to just try to like do our own thing and like, I know what's best for my kids, blah, blah, blah. And some of that is true. Like each kid is unique, each kid is different, but like go talk to people that have done it successfully and learn from them.
I feel like you punted that one a little bit.
Do I need to talk a little longer? I can't.
No. It felt like you said, let's go ask somebody else what they do and do that.
See, and I thought he had me. I thought he was going with this kind of line of logic here. As someone with like 10 kids myself, I was like, okay, find someone with kids 5 to 10 years older than you, and look for the hand-me-outs, the hand-downs.
Yeah,
that's where I was going with that.
That's the great one.
Yeah.
But hey, Garrett, it's been great having you on here. Just kind of give us a quick little shout out. What do you got planned next year? I mean, we know at Dynasty Nerds, you guys got all kinds of things going on, the GM 2.0, but what is Garret Price is doing next? We got the next episode of Faith in Football coming out. What can we expect here before the season starts?
Yeah. We are on the cusp of some really interesting things at Dynasty Nerds. And I can't spill too much. But one of the things that I'm personally looking at, anywhere from like 6 months to at worst a year, but anywhere from 6 months to a year, is we're going to be up in the content a little bit. We're going to be doing some more unique things that we're going to be putting out there on YouTube, Twitterverse, TikTok, different things like that. But it's going to be I'm going to be doing a little more hosting. I think hopefully we'll see a little more hosting than I've done in the past. So I'm excited for some things to come.
Well, we're excited too for what's coming next for the Dynasty Nerds. The Nerdverse is about to take off, so to speak. And with that, we are about to take off as well. So this has been the Dynasty Vipers Behind the Grind, brought to you by the Fantasy Points Media Group. Head over to fantasypoints.com today. Use promo code VIPERS22 and get 10% off that subscription. And we will see you next time. Take care.